We continue now at the top of Daf Tzadi Aleph Amid Aleph and Meseches Bava Basra. This is Bava Basra Daf 91a. On the previous summit, the Gemara brought a brisa which brought the opinion of the Tanakama that said you're not allowed to export necessary goods from Eretz Yisrael to Chutz La'aretz, and also from Eretz Yisrael to Syria is also a problem. And the brisa now continues that Rebbe says you are allowed to export from Eretz Yisrael to Syria if it's mehiprachia lehiprachia, if it's from one province to another province. And the Rashbam explains mehiprachia achrona shel Eretz Yisrael, from the border province of Eretz Yisrael, lehiprachia rishona shel Syria, to the first one on the border by Syria. They came into smuchim kol kach, since those two provinces are so close to one another, mutar, and therefore it's mutar, even though you're technically exporting basic necessities from Eretz Yisrael to Syria. But since it's a province that's right at the border of Eretz Yisrael, right next to this province in Syria, that is going to be okay according to Rebbe. And the Gemara continues, Tanu Rabbanan, the rabbis taught, Ein mistakrim be'Eretz Yisrael b'dvorim sheyesh ben chaye nefesh. A person is not allowed to make profit in Eretz Yisrael on things which are required for basic sustenance for life. Kagon yenos shemanim v'siltos, for example, wine, oils, and flowers. Again, those are things that are considered basic necessities. You can't profit off those. Amru alav Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, they said about Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, shayim mistaker b'yayin v'shemen, that he would profit off wine and oil. And the reason is, b'yayin savar lo Rabbi Yehuda, by wine, he held like Rabbi Yehuda that we had in the previous brayso, so we'll see the Rashbam in a moment. And B'Shemen, when it came to oil, B'Asrid, Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, in the place, in the location of Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, Shchiach Mishcha, there was plenty of oil, so there was no problem. And the Rashbam explains, Ein mistakron, you're not allowed to profit off these items, Liknos yayin v'Shemen v'siltos mi balabayis. The idea over here is, you're not allowed to buy wine or oil or flour from a balabayis, from a private individual, Limchor bashuk, in order to sell in the marketplace, Ela balabayis atzmo yimchor, rather the balabayis himself should sell latzrichin to those who need, kemoshe yimchar lechenvani, just like he's going to sell to a storekeeper. Umiu liknos chitin velasos pas mutter. Now, nevertheless, to buy wheat in order to make bread, that would be mutter. Tekevan dikatir chashari, since you're putting an effort, you're converting the wheat into bread, that's okay. Avolimchar hadavar be'ein kemoshe kono sami balabais, but just to buy it from the balabais and sell it as is, essentially driving the price up, also that's forbidden. To habalabais nami matzi mazvin le below torach, because that already the balabais himself can do without any extra effort. He can sell it, and that's why it's problematic to act as a middleman who's profiting off these items. And the Gemara said that Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, he did profit off wine and oil, and the reason for the wine was because he held like Rabbi Yehuda. And the Rashbam here says, Savar like Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira, he holds like Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira, halavai sheyoker, meaning that it's good that wine should go up in value, v'lo yiknu, that it goes up in price, v'lo yiknu mimenu, that way people won't buy it. This is what Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira said on the previous summit. He said that wine leads to intoxication, leads to all kinds of averus, so it's not really a problem if it goes up in price and people do not buy. And the Gemara continues, Tanu Rabbanan, the rabbis taught, Ein mistakron pa'amayim bebeitzim, a person can't profit twice on eggs. And what does that mean? Amar Mori bar Mori bar Mori says, Pligi bar Rav Shmuel. There's a machlokas about what this brisa means between Rav and Shmuel. Chad Amar al Chad Trey. One says what the brisa means to say is you can't charge double. If you're charging double already, that's profiting twice, so to speak, off the eggs. The Chad Amar, the other one, says what the brisa means is tagor latagor. A merchant should not sell it to another merchant. Rather, the merchant should sell it directly to the customer. And the Rashbam explains, Pamaim, twice. Again, the Brisa said you can't profit twice on eggs. L'kamei mefarish. Further on, the Gemara is going to explain what this means, as we saw. But beitzim by eggs, the Rashbam says, nearly it appears to me, mishum de beitzim ein bahem chayin nefesh kol kach. Number one, when it comes to eggs, they're not such a basic necessity of life. V'gam torach meruba v'revach muatu la'ani ha'mechazer ba'yaros liknos beitzim. Also, let's say a poor person is going around and he's trying to buy eggs and make money off of it, so there's a lot of effort that involves and you don't make much profit. Well, so that's why over here we are allowing him to profit more than a sixth. That's why there's a discussion over here about you can't charge double, but more than a sixth seems to be okay. Al chad trei again means double. Mashalakach b'dinar lo yimchar b'shnei dinarim. One explanation is that if you buy it for a dinar, you can't sell it for 2 dinar. And the second explanation was tagor latagro, one merchant to another. Elatagor rishon yimchor latzrich, and the first merchant should sell to those who need. Avalo latagor acher, but not to another merchant. Yeshkan revach shtei pam. Now there's going to be profit twice. Latagor rishon ulatagor sheni. The first merchant is going to make some money, and the second merchant will make money. Umokirin yosir midai, and the price is going to go up too much. Aval b'shar devarim. Now by other things, mutter, it's mutter. Shem yoker zeh yimtza achem sheyimchru bezol. By other items, if this price goes up too much because it went through too many merchants, you'll just buy somewhere else where it's cheaper. The market takes care of it. That's not true when it comes to eggs. And the Gemara continues, Tanu Rabbanan, the rabbis taught, Masrin al pragmatia v'afilu b'Shabbos. We sound the alarm for merchandise if it drops in price, even on Shabbos. The idea is that we gather in public prayer and we do the kinds of bakashos and the kinds of screaming out to HaKadosh Baruch Hu that we normally wouldn't do on Shabbos, but this situation is considered to be a desperate one. Amar Rabbi Yochanan says, Kagon klei pishtan bebavel. For example, if you're talking about linen garments in Bavel, that's a basis of the economy in Bavel. So if those prices drop, it's considered to be a situation where you have to be masri and you have to sound the alarm. V'yayin v'shemen be'Eretz Yisrael, and similarly, if the prices drop for wine and oil in Eretz Yisrael, the same basic idea. Amar Rav Yosef says, V'hu dezol v'kam asar b'shisa. This is talking about a situation where the prices drop, something that normally sold for 10 is now selling for 6. And the Gemara continues, Tanu Rabbanon, the rabbis taught, Ein yotzen me'aretz l'chutz la'aretz. We can't leave from Eretz Yisrael to chutz la'aretz, el imkein amdu sa'asayim b'sela, unless the grain, 2 saw of grain, is selling for a sela, which is a very high price. Then already you're allowed to leave to chutz la'aretz. Amar Reb Shimon says, Amosai, when is this true? Bizman she'eino motzi likach. That's if the person is not able to buy because the prices are high and he doesn't have the money. Aval bizman she'motzi likach. But if a person has the money and he's able to find grain that he can buy, afilu amda sa b'sela, even if a saw of grain is a sela, meaning even if the prices are higher, not 2 saw, but 1 saw is selling for a sela, lo yetze, he should not leave Eretz Yisrael. And the Rashbam explains, Ein yotzen, again, we don't leave Eretz Yisrael, shemafkia atzmo min ha-mitzvahs. The reason why he can't leave Eretz Yisrael is because he's taking himself away from being able to do certain mitzvahs that can only be done in Eretz Yisrael. And the Brisa continues, V'chein hayir Reb Shimon ben Yochai Omer, and similarly Reb Shimon bar Yochai says, Elimelech machlon v'kilyon, Elimelech machlon and kilyon gedolei hador hayu, they were the great ones of the generation, uparnesei hador hayu, and they supported the generation, umevnei man nenshu, and why were they punished? Mimnei sheyatzu me'aretz l'chutz la'aretz, because they left Eretz Yisrael to go to chutz la'aretz. Shenemar, as it says in the pasuk, Vatehom kol ha'ir alehen vatomarna, the entire city was astir because of them, and they said, Hazos Naami, is this Naami? And the Gemara continues, My Hazos Naami, what does it mean when the pasuk says, is this Naami? Amar Rabbi Yitzchak says, Amru, they said, Chazisem Naami sheyatzas me'aretz l'chutz la'aretz. Did you see Naami? She left Eretz Yisrael to go to chutz la'aretz, ma'al salah, what happened to her, and that's how it's indicated in the pasuk, that it's a bad thing to leave Eretz Yisrael to go to chutz la'aretz. And the Gemara continues, V'yamar Reb Yitzchak, and Reb Yitzchak says, Oso hayom shabos Rus HaMoaviyah la'Eretz Yisrael, that day that Rus HaMoaviyah came to Eretz Yisrael, Mesa Ishto Shel Boaz, that's when the wife of Boaz died. V'hainu dam ri'inchi, and that's what people say, Ad lo shachav shichva, before the deceased dies, Kaima manu baise, the person who is ready to take over the house arises. And the Gemara continues, Amar Rabba bar Rav Huna says, Amar Rav, that Rav says, Ivtzon ze Boaz. Ivtzon, this is one of the judges in Sefer Shoftim, that's actually Boaz. And the Gemara continues, My Kamashmal, and what is this coming to teach us? Ki idach de Rabba bar Rav Huna, it's like the other teaching of Rabba bar Rav Huna. The Amar Rabba bar Rav Huna Amar Rav, because Rabba bar Rav Huna said that Rav said, Meyo ve'esrim mishtos also Boaz lebanav. Boaz made for his sons, or for his children rather, he made 120 wedding feasts. Shenemar, as it says, Vahilo shloshim banim ushloshim banos shilach achutz. It says that Boaz had 30 sons and he had 30 daughters that he sent abroad. Ushloshim banos hevi lebanav min hachutz, and he brought 30 daughter-in-laws for his sons from abroad. Vayishbot es Yisrael sheva shanim, and he judged Israel for 7 years. Uvchol achas v'achas, and the Gemara says for every single child, again he had 60 children, for every single child, asa shnei mishtos, he made 2 feasts for their wedding. Echad beveis aviv, one of the feasts was in the house of the groom's father, v'echad beveis chamav, and one of them was in the house of the groom's father-in-law. Uvechulan lo zimen es manoach, and in all of the feasts that he made for his children's weddings, he did not invite Manoach. Manoach was going to be the father of Shimshon, but he had no children at this point. And so Amar, and so therefore Boaz said, Kudna akara, a sterile mule, but my parali, how is he going to pay me back? Meaning he doesn't have any children, he's not going to be making any wedding feasts, so he's not going to invite me, therefore I will not invite him. And the Gemara continues, Tana was taught, V'kulan mesu b'chayev, all of his children, they died during his lifetime, referring to the children of Boaz. V'hainu damri inchi, and that's what people say, B'chayech dioladet shisin, in your lifetime you give birth to 60 children, shisin lamalach, what do you need 60 children for? Ichfil va'olet chad, demi shisin zariz, take the effort in order to have one child that's going to be more diligent than the 60, and that refers to the child of Boaz and Rus, it refers to Oved, who out of Oved eventually came David HaMelech. And the Gemara continues, Amar Rav Chanan bar Rava Amar Rav, Rav Chanan bar Rava says that Rav says, Elimelech v'salmon uploni almoni, Va'avi Naomi, Elimelech and Salmon and Ploni Almoni, and the father of Naomi, Kulon b'nei Nachshon ben Aminadav Hein. They were all descendants of Nachshon ben Aminadav. And the Gemara says, "My kamashmalan, what is this teaching us? Sha'afilu misha yeshlo zechus avos." It means to say that even somebody who has the merit of great ancestors, eina omedes lo, that's not going to protect the person. B'shah sheyotze me'aretz l'chutz la'aretz. In a time when he leaves Eretz Yisrael to go to chutz la'aretz, again, that's why Elimelech was punished, because he left Eretz Yisrael. And the idea is that even these zechus avos did not protect him. And the Gemara continues, V'yomer Rav Chanan bar Rava amar Rav, and Rav Chanan bar Rava says that Rav says, Imei di Avram, the mother of Avraham, was Amasloi bas Karnavo. Her name was Amasloi bas Karnavo. And Imei de Haman, the mother of Haman, was Amasloi bas Orvasi, was a similar name, Amasloi bas Orvasi. And the Gemara says, V'simonech, and the mnemonic, in order to remember which one was the mother of Avram Avinu and which one was the mother of Haman, Tamei, Tahar, Tahar. The way to remember it is that the impure one goes with the impure, and the pure one goes with the pure. The idea is that the Orev, the raven, is not a kosher bird, and therefore that one is associated with Haman, Amasloi bas Orvasi, and Karnavo, which is the same root as the word for sheep, which is a kosher animal. That's Amasloi bas Karnavo. That's the mother of Avraham. And the Gemara continues, Imei de David, the mother of David HaMelech, Nitzeves bas Adoel Shema, her name was Nitzeves bas Adoel. Imei de Shimshon, the mother of Shimshon, was Tzlalphonis. The name of her name was Tzlalphonis. Va'achse, and his sister's name was Nashion. And the Gemara says, Lamai nafkamina, what difference does it make what all these names are, what the names of these various women are? And the Gemara says, L'tshuvas haminim, it's in order to respond to the heretics. They would ask what the names of the mothers are or the sisters are. And so we respond that we have a tradition as to who they were. And the Gemara continues, V'yomer Rav Chanan bar Rava amar Rav, and Rav Chanan bar Rava says that Rav says, Eser shonim nechbash Avram Avinu. Avram Avinu was imprisoned for 10 years. Shalosh bekusa, 3 of the years he was in a city called Kusa. V'sheva bekardu, and 7 of the years he was imprisoned in a city called Kardu. For Rav Dimi min Ahardoi masni ipchor, Rav Dimi min Ahardoi, he taught the opposite, that it was actually 3 years in Kardu and it was 7 years in Kusa. Amar Rav Chisda says, Ivra Zeira de Kusa, this is a place called Ivra Zeira de Kusa. Some translate as the small passage of Kusa. Zehu or Kastim, that actually is the same as or Kastim. And the Rashbam explains, Nechbash Avram Avinu was in prison, Shechavshu Nimrod, because Nimrod put him in prison. Uvi Agada Reisi, the Rashbam says that I saw in the Agadata, the Terach Aviv Chavshu, that actually it was Terach, his father, who put him in prison. Bishvil Shaya Ma'abitz Lama, because he destroyed his idols. Kusa v'Kardu Mekomos, and Kusa and Kardu are the names of places. V'chol Zela Hodiach Chibaso Shel Avram Avinu, all of this is to show how beloved Avram Avinu is. And then the Gemara said, Ivra Zeira, again, the small passage of Kusa, Kach Shemo, that's the name of the area. V'zehu or Kastim, that's the same as or Kastim. Shehushlach Sham Avram Avinu, again, where Avram Avinu was thrown into the furnace. V'haro, and if somebody sees that place, Tzarech Levarach, he has to make a bracha of Baruch Sha'asa Nisim Lavoseinu b'makom hazeh. You have to make the bracha that the miracles were done for our fathers in this place. Kedetanan b'haroa, as is learned in the Mishnah in Meseches Brachos. And the Gemara continues, V'yomer Rav Chanan bar Rava amar Rav, and Rav Chanan bar Rava says that Rav says, Oso hayom sheniftar Avram Avinu min ha'olam. The day that Avram Avinu died, Amdu kol gedolei umos ha'olam, all of the great people of the nations of the world, they stood up, b'shura, they stood up in a line. V'yamru, and they said, Oy lo liolam sha'avad, woe is to the world that has lost its leader. And we will continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Tzadi Aleph Amud Beis.